What's happening? That was a really bad transition, my bad. I kind of fell asleep there for a second. It's another night recording, and you know what that means. The episodes come out really hot and wild. And this episode is about to be really rowdy. So, in the Discord, the high Discord I always speak of, available only through the Patreon. By the way, you get fresh new episodes if you listen in on iHeartRadio's Ruckus Avenue, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. Links are in the bios, man. Just come on, figure out how to use social media. So many people are so stupid that they're asking me, like, where do I watch the videos? Look at the bios, all right? If there's a bio somewhere, it'll tell you where to go. But if you want to hear new episodes that are like this or whatever, Ruckus Avenue Radio, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., Monday to Friday. And the rest of this video will be on Patreon. This is like part of the, I don't know, hot topic, rage baiting, sick videos and all that kind of stuff. And to see the rest of this video, the lengths, the wildness, you're going to have to be on the Patreon. And it's an iceberg. And so once you start seeing the iceberg, it'll make a lot more sense. But yeah, follow on the Patreon, subscribe. You're going to have to pay to actually see this video. Again, you know, somebody put my video on Reddit, and I said very clear, like this, I'm not doing seva, bro. Like, I don't want to do seva for you people. Like, you people suck. The Sikhs of today suck. Everyone has something to say. Everyone's like so many people who are on one hand being like, read Barney, whatever, will be like, you're not a Sikh, you're an atheist. Because clearly they can't even read E the first. They read it as atheist, which I guess their brain just does. And whatever, it is what it is. But I mean, it makes so much sense that it says E the first. But whatever, that kind of is a harken back to the Khalsa episode. But something this controversial, the viewers of the Patreon, they're going to get this prashad, all right? They get to experience, I give it like it's prashad, all right? Other than that, yeah, you got to watch the rest of the video on the Patreon. And I'm not doing seva, bro. Like, I have bigger aspirations, and this will be on another video that's coming up soon about like how culture, philosophy, and stuff like that, and Sikh, all that stuff. Like, yes, I believe in these things, but like making content, I'm getting paid to do this stuff. Like, I'm making bread, so buy part, like this is not seva anymore, anyways, because I'm actually making money from this. You know, I'm with a company, you know, a network, iHeart. So like, I get paid. I'm not doing this from the goodness of my heart. This is like a little bit of me. Here's the thing. Everyone keeps saying I'm rage baiting. Only the titles are rage bait, as you will see in the iceberg. The real shit is the fact that like I say something and I have a point, evidence to back it up. That's actually very real. Not some like ironic or metaphorical or interpretation of something. So without further ado, welcome to the Sikh Iceberg, as you are now seeing it. This was developed in the Discord, you know? And as you understand, like, icebergs aren't facts. Like, this is not all facts, all right? These are, like, ideas or theories that have existed within the panth, hot topics, conspiracies, right? Different ideas that are heard that you see, and we brought them as many as we could possibly together. A couple were missing just because we tried to do it one night, and then we used some trash-ass website, and then it got deleted. And so there's 8 levels to this. I'm probably only going to cover 2 or 3 on the YouTube. The rest of the 8, when you get into the more serious, it's going to be, that's on Patreon, brother. So if you want to see the real depths, support the page, man. You know, I was talking to somebody about like, you know, potentially this gambling company wants to, this Jossar company wants to advertise. And people are like, no, don't. I'm like, bro, like, why are you telling me I can't put money in my pocket when you're not helping me yourself? You know? And clearly, like, there's no gambling ad on this video. So, you know, not that I have or haven't taken it. I'm still thinking about it and, like, the implications about something like that. But on one end, people be like, oh, you're just in your basement, you're not even getting money, and all this type of shit. Then on the other hand, I'm like, all right, I can get money, but they're like, oh, you can't get money from there. That's not right. And I'm like, okay, well then, do you want to pay? No, I don't want to pay. I want you to starve and die. That's the type of stuff people have been saying. So if that's the case, then like I can do what I want. And if you want to like be on the insider of this stuff, this like low-key revolution that's going on ideas, then you're going to have to join the Patreon and you're going to have to be paying. All right? You have to actually support. Otherwise, like, it's all just window dressing. It's all bullshit, man. People be like, oh, I love your ideas. You're really pushing the thing and whatever, but nah, I don't want to support you. It's like, all right then, man. Don't get mad at how I get my bread because other people are entertained. If people are cutting checks for the type of content I'm making and you don't want to be behind that check, what do you want me to do about it? I'm still making a living. All right, anyways. The beginning, I don't really have a name for the little character. It's like the Pepe Singh. I think it's funny. It's like a little cutesy guy. But this is the top of the top, the most basic stuff that you've probably heard of in regular conversations with like bare normies, man. This isn't like really interesting. This isn't like, whoa, the depths, right? When you see some of the depths, they get a little bit weird. But let's start from top left. Women, no pahal. So obviously this is like super controversial off rip. But this is very simple, man. Women were never given pahal. And it only started during the Namtaris. So these people that believe in a living guru started giving amrit or pahal. And then it became like mass adopted by like panthic people. But if you look at originally, women who took pahal were like way far and few in between. They were exceptions. They were not the norm. Because even to another extent of stuff I'm reading is like a lot of the Singhs that were taking amrit or pahal were celibate. Because like they had detachment. They couldn't have families because they were going to die in battle. It was a warrior order fully. Which is like another point that's like deeper in the iceberg. But women were never given pahal. This responsibility was not for them. And then the hubris of the panth, which started to mass adopt this, basically changed the wishes of Guru Gobind Singh and what Vaisakhi was to accommodate women. It was feminism, the worst type of liberal feminism entering Sikhi, which changed what Guru Gobind Singh was doing. And then if you say, well, the Guru Panth can decide, well, the Guru Panth that decided for women to start taking pahal and started that trend were the Namtaris who believe in their own guru, so kind of not really Guru Panth. And then because you got to understand Sikhi and its development post Guru Gobind Singh as a competition between people to get the average person into Sikhi. That's why the Nirmale and the Taksalis and all these other groups were going around doing prachar because they were trying to convert people into Sikhi. It was like a mass movement. Like, we need people to join Sikhi. And so part of that, hey, we can't just go for half of the population, because in a way by that time pahal lost a lot of its potency in British run society, because you can't fight for yourself. You have to fight for the state. You have to fight for a unified British Indian army. And for that, then the British were totally like, yeah, bande have to take pahal. You have to. They totally understood that. But for the average person that could not fulfill that, they felt like, what are they doing then? It became like a clusterfuck, basically. And to appeal to masses, hey, let's give it to both. And we'll get more into that later, but there's just no evidence that women were taking in mass pre-Singh Sabha. Like, the two events, like, there's three events that sandwich basically the last, like from 1699 onwards, right? One is Guru Gobind Singh and the creation of the Khalsa. That's one. Two is the fall of Ranjit Singh's empire, which, like, up to there, between that is Banda Singh, the missiles, Ranjit Singh's conquests, the civil wars, stuff that we've covered on the pod. And then post Ranjit Singh, it's the period between the British dominance, Anglo-Sikh wars, British encroachment, them taking over the Dalip Singh chapter, Maharani Jind Kaur, all that stuff. And then you get Singh Sabha to present. And in Singh Sabha to present, you basically have the Britishification of Sikhi. That's basically what it is. The Singh Sabha movement was so heavily influenced by the British, And if you don't believe me, for example, Bhavir Singh, very famous member of the Singh Sabha movement, wrote Sundari, a novel, a fictitious novel about a Kaur, right? Because of two things. This is the double influence. Influence one is mass media through novelization, which came from the British. And number two, feminism, that women are, they can do shit for themselves. So Sundari was made. Those two stories are Singh Sabha by Veer Singh. And yeah, so women, no Pahal, clearly most of those pre-Singh Sabha, it just wasn't a thing. Okay. Calm test. This one's a little bit joke. The Nirvair Singh Jatha, the one that all the fucking, dipper parents be listening to is Sukh Tera Ditta. I don't listen to it, so I don't really know exactly what Barney it is or whatever in the tune. But that guy, first off, he has this crazy line. He goes, "What happens in the Jatha stays in the Jatha." He says that, and it came out recordings that he was touching Bande Lullis. And it's a calm test. He was doing not mouth to mouth Simran and all this weird stuff. See, and so that's the point of this iceberg. It's not just all serious stuff. Some of it's just funny. So the calm test was basically that, and it's also kind of, you'll see it laced throughout this iceberg. A lot of sexual exploitation happening within the panth, which is why the last video was Khalsa and sex, which Even all the super gyannis I talk to are just virgins who have no experience with women, who nothing, and they're the ones telling me this, that, the other. I'm like, listen, you don't know nothing about nothing, man. So to you, what I'm saying is so blasphemous because you've never even touched Fuddi. So what? Why are you getting mad at me? If you've at least had a girlfriend, a couple, or got laid, you understand a lot of different things, right? And because the panth has a complete Muslim level, no, you have so much weird sexual shit happening in the panth, and the calm test is one of them. And if you go right rip off to rip, pedo babbe, this one so many people know of. The Nanak Sariye babbe had lists of kids that they were diddling. There was the Sunpak Baba, who was consensually in another dude's bund in the Gurdwara, which is wild. And just pedo behavior from Babbe in general. Santhya teachers, Gyannis, at the Taksal, at the Dulls, just pedo behavior all around. Okay, Sikh is not monotheistic. This one is kind of this one's a serious one. Sikhs don't believe in one God. Sikhs believe in a oneness. And I think Guratan Singh in that Randy video made that point, which is God is. That's the best way to describe it. You don't need millions of words if you just understand God is, which is it is everything. It is existence as itself. It's oneness. I think the word that technical word is panentheism, where God is everything. That's why you see God in people. You see God in the there's lines in the Guru Granth Sahib, gods in the rocks, gods in this, gods in that, whatever. That's where that comes from. Because we don't believe in one God. Believing in one God, monotheism, is out of a polytheistic pantheon of gods. So out of multiple gods, you believe Zeus is the guy, or Krishna is the guy, or Jupiter is the guy, or Allah is the guy. Instead of it's just one. Instead of one out of these gods, right? So that's if you talk to Muslims sometimes, they'll be Allah and Vaheguru are different. And then Sikhs will be well, you guys are just calling it something. Whatever name you want to call it doesn't matter. It is. So that's what that is. Meat's allowed. This one's just if you want to be a soy boy and don't, listen, no one in the panth is forcing you to eat meat. But if you want to be healthier, if you want to actually have like better muscle mass, if you want to have more protein regularly, if you want to actually feel satiated from eating food, like meat is much better. Instead of having to eat like 400 grams of Greek yogurt to get like the equivalent of protein from eating like 60 grams of chicken, whatever. And then like the implications, like, man, like there's like stories of the gurus eating meat, man. There's stories of, is that also in here somewhere? Yeah, that's on the 4th level. There's so much other influence and facts of the fact that like Sikhs were eating meat. They had kebabs, bro. Like this is written in different grunts. You know, this is the funny thing about like Suraj Prakash and all these grunts, right? The super soy boys will quote these grunts only when it's applicable and serves their like argument. Instead of it's like a buffet style, right? It's like, well, I don't want to agree with this because it really goes against my point, but let me agree with this part. And then people will start pulling up things from Guru Granth Sahib. And this is like, yo, this is truly my feeling. If you are, I think it's fully biadbi of the gurus and the Guru Granth Sahib if you are using lines and angs and pages and rags or whatever for arguments, because it's the highest form of ego. You want to be right so bad that you will twist the meanings of Guru Granth Sahib to serve your narrative. I see it all the time. We had a couple of debates in the Discord, and it literally will be like a big idea, and then some guy will be like, well, this line in Guru Granth Sahib, one single line, like 7 words. And then we're like, okay, these are the 7 words you chose. And this is where I got the epiphany of this. Like, this is just a waste of time. On the second word, we'll be like, this word means this. And they'll be like, no, it means something else. So now we're debating for an hour on the meaning of one word. Like, we're completely lost. And I think if you're trying to use Guru Granth Sahib to prove your ego, like your ego in this argument in debates is to be right. It's egotistical. It's prideful in nature. That is the meaning of hankar. You want to be right so bad that you're willing to misinterpret or interpret from your own weird, twisted brain what Guru Granth Sahib means in certain lines so that you can be right. It's disgusting. I'm not down with that shit. And I think that stuff needs to be done. You have to kill that. We need to kill that from the panth. Your interpretation of Guru Granth Sahib is dependent upon how you read it and who you are. Every word is going to mean something different because the most simplest way to put it, if you got 1,000 people to draw a knife, no one's going to draw the same knife. Everyone's going to have a different idea of what a knife is in their head. Now, that's just visually. Think about mentally. Words. You know, I gave this example, right? The word grooming, right, has a very negative connotation to it today. You know, grooming gangs, or, you know, a older person's grooming a younger person for, you know, sexual exploitation. Whereas before it used to be like, I'm grooming this person for power. It's like getting them ready to be what you need them to be in a certain position. It was very regular. But because of modern society, because living in the Western society, we have these connotations with these certain words. And so that has completely, and this goes to institutional raw, I know I spelled it wrong, of how Guru Granth Sahib is now used in a way for people to prove their own ego, prove their own hankar, my bad. Yeah, ego, whatever, man. People are trying to prove their own ego by looking at the Guru Granth Sahib and interpreting. And that's why we can't move forward as a panth, because everyone's bickering with each other what every word means. And we're getting lost in the sauce. It's literally a waste of time. We can't even think about all these other things that are happening because, oh, what does this one line mean? What's the right mool mantra or whatever? It's bullshit. And institutional raw, like that is one example of institutional raw. For some reason, I don't know why, like no guru said that this is how you should argue about things, because in essence, if Guru Granth Sahib is about like helping you achieve enlightenment, using those words to prove yourself in an argument, is that going to help you achieve enlightenment? Like, is being a great debater how you become a Buddha? Because if so, then like we should all just be fighting with each other all the time verbally, and that'll lead us to God, right? Well, clearly no. You're supposed to read Guru Granth Sahib and get the experience of the words for what they mean and how it resonates with you. But now, like, people are going to use, and basics is, everyone does this, man. Oh, this is how I interpret this line. Now you listen to it. Fuck all that, man. You go learn it for yourself. Just look at the translations and then understand more. Like, the more I used to read and do Sajpat, the words started to feel very different in, like, context to context, even if it was the same word. Like roop, for example, form. Form started to feel different. Sometimes it meant the physical form. Sometimes it just meant the form. And that just depended on how you read it and how you interpret it. And the thing is this model maybe made sense when no one had ever fucking read a book in their life and were illiterate. But the fact that now we understand how to read, we have access to learning Gurmukhi and Punjabi and literature and English and all this stuff, everything is going to be interpretation based. And institutional raw is not just that, but it's like the Gurdwara suck, the Akal Takht sucks, the Taksal sucks, the Nahang Dal suck. Like, every single one of them, the AKJs especially suck. Like, all these weird, like, all the institutions that the Khalsa has built and had are all rotten to the core and basically need to be done up with, like nuke everything and build it back up, man. I'm on that vibe, because this is not working for anyone. Like Sikhs are so easily predatorially targeted for conversion because they know we're weak. These other religions, the Christians and the Muslims that are doing the conversions, they know how to approach it. They know how to get in and be like, well, this says this. Does this make sense to you? And you see even like these dumb broads on TikTok making these really dumb arguments because they don't see any real, because the people who should be having real conversations for the youth are either fucking old as hell and boomers, death by gerontocracy, death by old people running the show, or they're debating each other on every fucking syllable and vowel and letter that no real information is reaching real people. So now what do? This is the institutional raw I'm talking about. You waste your time doing Santya. Sorry, man. I know that's like a hot take to say, but like, wow, congrats. You learned how to read it right. Good job. And I'm not saying don't do it. I should also but you are kind of in a way being like you are in a high like way being manipulated, because whoever your teacher is, they're going to basically tell you their version of interpretations and claim as if it's right, instead of making you think about, like the memes of all the time in high school where people are like, in high school, they don't teach you how to learn. They don't teach you how to learn. They just teach you what to learn, and they stuff it down your throats. That's what basically modern Sikhi is. But it's even worse because like it's at the minutia level of every word and every syllable. If we were supposed to be, let's put it this way, if we were supposed to be this like super like semantic, this is all semantics. Like if we were supposed to be so semantics about everything, then the gurus would have established institutions to be insanely semantical about everything. We would have had commentaries on the main Granth, Guru Granth Sahib, by the gurus telling us how to interpret everything. But they didn't do that because that is a Brahmin practice in essence. All right? And this is why now institutional law, if you think about it for a second, the Brahmins basically told everyone, you can't learn about religion, you can't learn about dharam unless you do it through us. So unless you learn how we're teaching and what we're saying, you can't learn any of this. The gurus came, everyone can do it as they want and as they please. I always say this, Japji Sahib is written in such a way that the average person who is barely literate, even illiterate, but just hearing it, understands the words enough that it can touch them, that it can actually like make sense to them. That like, wow, this is some real fire that the guru's dropping. But it's also at such a high level that you can spend so much time on every line for yourself. I think the new wave of Santya needs to be like, sure, there's certain ways to pronounce words very correctly. But if I'm talking and I say, instead of lineage, I say lineage, a little bit of an accent or whatever, it doesn't mean that the word I said is incorrect. The sound, this is not like, those like goofy ass like TikToks where it's like, why do you think it's called spelling? Because words are a spell. No, we're not that. We're not those dummies, man. That shit's so stupid. It's more about the fact what is the meaning and how's the meaning making you feel. When songs come out in today, let's take like average songs by rappers or whatever, the lyrics, and let's talk like real proper music. Let's talk Sade. When Sade talks about love and she has to kind of, let's call it like mold her words to fit into the bar, like at the end of Kiss of Life, she's like nah, 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 nah. Like the way one of the words comes off sounds really weird, but you feel it and you understand like, wow, this is like beautiful. And how that music makes you feel, how like Kiss of Life makes you feel, like Guru Granth Sahib is supposed to make you feel that. And that's what makes you love it, because you're like, wow, God is love. Not like the semantic, pedantic, like you are not reading the word correctly. The word must be said like this. If it's not like said like this, then the meaning is wrong. And if the meaning is wrong, you cannot meet God. Like that's what a Brahmin would say, not the gurus. And so obviously you want to be able to read it in the most best way possible. But I think in the new age, sitting with your friends and going over each line and understanding and pooling your understandings of the world and context and history, psychology and dharam and spirituality in the West and the East and philosophy and all this stuff, pooling your thoughts to go line after line. Like this is something we'll do sometime in the Discord at night, is like we'll do like the hukamnama of the day, and like whoever's left, like 5-6 of us, like we'll be like, well, yo, what do you guys think that this line is? Like there's a discussion about the lines. It's not adversarial. It's not, this is the right interpretation. This is the right meaning. You must learn it as is. It's like, what do we feel these lines mean and how do they resonate with us? It's the universality of something is not that it's the same meaning throughout time. It's that the meaning is applicable through any time. Kiss of Life, and now if we're using music, because Guru Granth Sahib is in essence like a musical thing, Kiss of Life is so beautiful because it doesn't matter if you're listening to the slop of today or the 2000s or from the 90s or the 2010s or whatever. Kiss of Life still evokes that feeling of love. It still evokes that feeling of passion with a woman and all those kinds of things. It is universal because always being in love with the other gender is a universal thing that keeps happening, and Kiss of Life can be like that. And so the human condition and wanting to achieve enlightenment is something that can happen at any single time for as long as humans exist, and Guru Granth Sahib is basically applicable. But if we're going to use, that's what gives it the universality. But if we're going to go like, no, it's what the time of the gurus, this is what the interpretation is, it's going to be the same interpretation forever. It's not universal. It's contextual. Then it's not timeless. It's not universal. But if God is in essence universal and timeless, whatever. Okay. That was like 30 minutes on just the first line, on the first level, right? So we basically covered all of them. Now let's go to the second one. Gaze is only head hair. This is gaze on top of your head is considered gaze. Everything else is considered Rome. And this is like sometimes the arguments that you'll hear about why like women can like shave and all that stuff, because it's just considered Rome. It's not gaze. Gaze is the head on your hair, and then also couple that with the women used to never take bahal. It kind of creates like a 1-2 punch of just like, yo, like you guys don't need to have beards. And this is also for like sings and stuff of the time, that's how they considered. I'm like, whatever. I'm not like so deep on this, like whatever. I've never cut my dadi or my hair, so like I don't really care. But I guess it's for like more for women, and I guess for even like guys who trim their beards and stuff, it's like, don't worry, like God still loves you. You're not fucking like gone, you're not gonzo and stuff. But yeah, case is only head hair. Okay, Guru Nanak, North America, Europe. This is like some funny ass conspiracies where like some people believe that Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to like North America, which would be funny because it would be like around the time of like Columbus. Like obviously this didn't happen. And then there's like theories like he went to Rome and he met the Pope and stuff. Like I'm kind of iffy on the evidence. I don't know. And it doesn't really make any difference because clearly they didn't really write much about it. And the gurus don't really talk much about it, about Gora and stuff like that. But in theory, if he did go, it is possible that he could have gone to Europe, right? Like if he did go to Mecca, right? Like, again, I don't know, man. These are all stories at the end of the day. They're all stories. They're supposed to mean something. So even if he did go to Mecca, he would have had to go through Jerusalem. So he would have had to touch the coast of the Mediterranean. Because if you look at a map of the Mediterranean basin, you can't cut through the desert in Saudi Arabia. It's too hard. You have to go curve around through the Middle East, like to Baghdad, Damascus in Syria, Aleppo area, come down the coast, which hits Jerusalem and modern-day Tel Aviv, and then come down the coast of the Red Sea to go to Mecca and Medina. And so if he hit the Mediterranean, trade was so rampant in the Mediterranean that it is possible for him to gone to Europe. It is possible he could have he could have gone to Greece, hit Athens, and then maybe boated it to Rome, because Rome would have still been like some level of, popping. Same with Turkey. Like these places, Istanbul, Constantinople, whatever. It's plausible. It's possible. Did it happen? I don't know. Okay, Hemkund Sahib not real. So Bachitra Natak is Natak, which means play. So it doesn't actually mean like autobiography, like of a past life. I think it's more so, if you read it in context of like Dasam Granth in general, it's more so like an LOL to like Hindus and stuff. That it's kind of like, like the story of Kartik Singh that's in Dasam Granth is about like inserting Sikhs into the canon of what the hell was happening in Indic mythology and stuff, to basically be like, here I am, here we are part of the story. We are inserting ourselves forcefully to become part of the Indic tradition of Dharam. And so part of that was Bachitra Natak, because it basically like makes it seem as if like Guru Gobind Singh has like divine rights from his past life and whatever to be the Guru and all this kind of stuff. We accept that he's the Guru 100%, but like he just goes about it in that way, which would be weird, because like how come no other Guru talks about their past life? Like there's no Guru Nanak Dev Ji past life or any of the other Gurus. So I think when he says Natak as in play, like it literally means play, like a Natak. Like theatrical. It's theatrical. It's not supposed to be taken as like gospel, like this is the truth. And so when they talk about where he meditated, like quote unquote Hemkund Sahib, I think that's a little bit like the dummies of the day who couldn't really understand like the metaphor and the whatever, just took it so literally. This thing that's called a Natak, like Romeo and Juliet, these are real people that exist. This really happened. Hamlet and Macbeth, this really happened. And so Guru Gobind Singh Ji is kind of like, fucking with everybody by writing something which is literally titled Natak. Like, I don't know how much more, like, you would have to do crazy mental gymnastics to be like, that's not what it is. So, like, good luck on that. But Natak is clearly a play. And so Hemkund Sahib, the reference to that comes from there. And then people came up with it. So, like, most likely, Guru Gobind Singh Ji was not there at that place. And plus, even if let's take the Bachitra Natak was true, there's no, like, nothing that proves to us, like, yeah, that was it. There's no, like, nothing. There just absolutely is nothing. It's literally some guys, I think some army dudes or whatever, like, this must be the place. Like, they just assumed it themselves. Like, this must be the place. I think it's cool that something like Hemkund Sahib exists, because then we could do more of that. Just like how in Japanese, Shinto shrines and Buddhist shrines are, like, at the top of mountains or at the top of these crazy hikes, or, in those, like, old Chinese kung fu flicks, like, the monasteries, like, on the top of a mountain. Like, I think it's cool that, like, there's this trek for a Gurdwara, right? And all that. Like, I think that's really dope. But is it truly real? Whatever. Figure that out for yourself. Okay, Tat Khalsa versus Bande Khalsa. For most people who don't know this, Bande Khalsa were the followers of Banda Singh Bahadur. They were, like, really, like, die hard about Banda Singh at the end. And they started to adopt a lot of his traits and his attitudes of what type of stuff he was doing. So they would wear red, they wouldn't eat onion, they were vegetarian, they had, like, their own thing, like Fateh Darshan, they would say, instead of Arji Khalsa, Arji Fateh. Like, they had a bunch of stuff. And Tat Khalsa was, like, overseen by Mani Singh and, like, the Sikhs that we know of. And so basically a divide happened and they beefed it, and Tat Khalsa and Bande Khalsa had to decide, like, who's gonna absorb who. And Bande Khalsa, Tat Khalsa, there's a wrestling match. They threw, like, a parchi in the Sarovar or something, and then it turned out that, like, Tat Khalsa wins. And to basically bring the Bande Khalsa in, they put meat in their mouth to basically be like, now you're part of us. And this is also, like, they, like, using pork to put into people's mouths was also a tactic to, like, suss out Muslims, because they don't eat pork. So, like, they put pork in their mouths to basically suss out if, like, people were just, because the thing about Banda Singh Bahadur was a lot of people were joining him, the Lutmar Khalsa at that time, just to take advantage. because Guru Gobind Singh would not have been down with the fact that people were just lortamaring cities and stealing and looting and all this kind of stuff. But with Banda Singh Bahadur, because there was a bit of like, all you Muslim rulers did all this crazy shit, like, we don't care, we're gonna go ape shit on you guys. People were joining because it's opportunistic, and all you had to do was tie a pug, which really essentially doesn't even, if you can just look like a Sikh and that's enough, like, and you don't have to prove how much Barney, or you can't even prove how much Barney and all your stuff you're doing to suss these people out. They're putting pork in their mouth. And so they did the similar thing with the Bande Khalsa to get them into the fold. You know, the Granths talk about this, history talks about this. Like, if you have an issue, go read it for yourself, prove me wrong, that's fine. I'll change my mind if you can find some substantial evidence that this didn't happen. Jungle period, okay, this one's funny because, like, a lot of people pretend like we were stuck in the jungles for like so many, like, fucking like 50, 60 years. Like, we were destitute, it was messed up, our situation was so bad and stuff. But like, we sussed it out that like jungle period was basically like just one, like only like one generation of kids were really born during the jungle period. So it's like 30 years essentially. Like, about, like, that's like pushing it to the max. That's not a conservative estimate, that's the most liberal estimate, that the jungle period only lasted about potentially like 30 years. Anything other than that is just basically bullshit. Okay, Panja Sahib not real. So the Panja Sahib not real thing, I know in an earlier pod I was like so gung-ho about it, but again, my mind has been broken by evidence. And the way this worked was, these Masans or Mahants or whatever, it wasn't like a centralized system the way we understand the SGPC today. Like, there was like a certain family or a certain guy from power or for connections or whatever that would have control of a Gurdwara. So like, let's say there's me and Bob here, and I have control of a Gurdwara where apparently Guru Har Gobind came and sat underneath a tree. And Bob here has a Gurdwara where Guru Gobind Singh Ji came and drank from a well with this, like, with a pot. Okay, through history, the potential of like that pot still existing or that tree still being there is like slim, because life happens, society happens, etc., etc. People sell things, whatever, right? But if I'm a Masand, right, and I edge my way into power, right, I weasel my way into getting control of the Gurdwaras or whatever, what I would do is I need to get money. I need revenue from the Gurdwara. So you create a tourist attraction. So I might be like, this random tree here, that's the tree Guru Har Gobind was underneath. Is that facts? I'm saying it's facts. Whatever. That's a tree. And now people come to your Gurdwara, they give more money. And for Bob, he's like, yo, we have the pot. Here's the pot. People go, they give money to just look at it, right? And we do this till this day. You see it all the time, right? People claim like, oh, this thing was used by the Guru or that thing. Like, there's no providence on any of this stuff. And this is like for one of the other lines later. There's just absolute providence is like proof that you can actually prove that this piece of artifact or whatever is efficiently like proven. We don't have art connoisseurs. We don't have these art people. I forgot what it's called. I should know. I have an art history major, which is kind of embarrassing, but appraisers. There's no real like appraisers and art experts to basically be able to prove the providence of any of this stuff. It's just like Vade Mahapur, some Baba said this is the real thing, it's the real thing. So Panja Sahib is an example of that. Somebody probably, because there's no mention of it in earlier sources and it just appears out of nowhere. And this happens a lot in our history where it just something appears out of nowhere. There's no mention of it before. There's no like whatever of it before, and then it just appears. And so Panja Sahib most likely was that. The Rock was like a really good tourist attraction to get people to go and pull up, and that made the Mahants, Masans very rich. Because other than that, like Masans, like you have to think about it like logistically, like how these Masans are really making money from a Gurdwara. Like there's Gurdwara that people don't even go to today. So what are they doing? They're basically having to rely on the Sangat's money from tourism, essentially, to go and show up and pay their respects to something. And so this is the Rock. We found the Rock. We built a Gurdwara around the Rock. Like basic idea. Okay. That was like 40 minutes. So if you made it this far, congrats. But the rest of this is going to be on Patreon. So if you want to enjoy it, audio. If not, whatever. You got the first two levels, and I guess you can guess what the other levels are.